Welcome to Papa's Workshop. Well, I am happy to say that I have a brand new adventure that I'm starting on, and it is a lot of fun. I have here the ELEGOO Mars 2 Pro 3D resin printer. That's right, this is fantastic. Now, I'm brand new to the 3D resin printing world, so I can't say if this is the best one or not, but I can say it is a fantastic unit. It was easy to be able to set up. It has everything that you need to be able to get started, and the results of this first test print are absolutely amazing. So today I want to get started with you, show you how I put this together, how I set it up, and how I did that first 3D resin printing. So let's get started. A day in the shop with Papa in Papa's Workshop. To support my channel, please go to patreon.com/Papa's Workshop. In today's video, we're going to be unboxing, setting up, and doing a test print on the ELEGOO Mars Pro 2 3D resin printer. I have been wanting to get involved with the 3D resin printing now for quite some time. And one of the things that I did is I went ahead and reached out to the ELEGOO company, and they were kind enough to send me this ELEGOO Mars Pro 2 resin printer, and I am thrilled with it. So as far as unboxing it, I'm amazed at how well that it's packed, and it has everything that you need to be able to get started. Now, they also sent separately the actual resin that you need, and that gave me everything to be able to get started. And look at the number of filters, plenty of filters. You get the mask to go with it. You have, this is a nice feature you'll see later, and you get the putty knife, get all the tools you need. This is an amazing thing, right down to the point where you have a lot of the gloves that you need to be able to handle the resin. So this toolkit is very, very complete. And now that I have the unit out of the box, it's still very well packaged, and they have left nothing out. And they've used every little bit of space that they could to be able to put the necessary items in. So I'm going to go ahead and unwrap this stretch wrap material that they have on the outside of the printer, and let's see what's inside. As I remove the foam, you can actually see the Z-axis, and you can see the build plate is stored inside this foam. And then as I remove the second piece of the foam, that reveals the reservoir that actually holds the resin. And it's secured by 2 set screws on each side. I'm going to go ahead and loosen those now so that I can actually remove the reservoir tray and set it aside. Now that I have everything unpackaged, I want to be able to actually show you all of the different items that you get with this ELEGOO Mars 2 Pro version. And of course you have the power cords that you need, the build tray, the USB drive to be able to have the software on that. You also get that little bracket that I'm going to show you later that actually holds the build tray so it drips. You have the gloves, mask, the putty knives, you have the strainers, tools, everything that you need to be able to get started with the 3D resin printing. Now I turned around the unit to the back side. I'm going to go ahead and plug in the power cord, and the off and on switch is here on the back as well. Alright, we've got the power connected to the back. The off and on switch is on the back side. One of the nice things is that the USB port is on the front. So we're going to put that right there. The next thing we're going to do is attach the build plate. So I'll slip this off.
Make sure you're going through those instructions.
I'm following these steps.
It looks like there's a film on the build plate. I don't know if that's important or not important.
It says take the printer out and take off the plastic film that was on the printer. Connect the power cable to the printer and the power supply, which we did. Please insert the build platform and fasten the rotary knob and loosen the screws. Now we're going to need to raise this up though to be able to attach that to this point. And this does not manually raise, so we're going to turn this on. I'll raise this up in a moment on the Z-axis, but I am going to go ahead and skip to the next step. And it says to remove this resin tank. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the resin tank now. And then I'm going to go back to the instructions where I can raise up the Z-axis and put the build plate actually onto the unit. Now this has a protective film on the bottom of this tray, so I'm going to go ahead and gently remove that. And the actual plastic sheet that's on this is very fragile. You want to be very, very careful with that. Now the little tab broke, so I'll just find the loose end, and I'm going to go ahead and peel that off. And then I'm going to set it aside. Now I chose to set this up on a vinyl sheet that's nice, clean, and dust-free. I don't want it sitting on the workbench. And then it also has a protective screen sheet over the 2K LED screen, and I'm removing that. Okay, and then we're going to do manual. I want to move up 1 millimeter to start with. That's a lot more than 1 millimeter. You
said that was a big millimeter.
Yeah, that was like, oh, see right here?
You're set to 10.
This is set to 10. If I push this, it would be set to 1.
It is a 0.1.
And then I could move it just 1. And let me show you a little bit different view. I'm going to go back to the 10 millimeter. We're going to push that, and then we'll go up. And we'll do that again. And one more time.
It's very smooth.
Yeah, this is great. Very smooth, very quiet. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the build plate on. Okay, this has the little slide on right here. So I'm going to slide that into this slot. We'll tighten that down. Okay, now that I have the build plate on, I have to loosen these screws. Those are definitely tight. Because what it's going to do is Z itself. So now this will move in every direction. Now then, a couple things that I need to be able to do. First, I need to get a piece of paper cut down to the size. Now they say in the instructions to use the A4. Well, that's not a common size paper in the United States. So I'm just taking a regular 8.5 by 11. I'm going to cut it down to the proper size so that I can follow the instructions and put it onto the bed so I can actually see the machine. The other thing I want to be able to do too, there is a protective film on the build plate itself, and that needs to be removed also. All right, now that I've got that cut, I'm going to put that back in there. In fact, I think I want to cut this side off too. Now I can set that right in there. Okay, so to recap everything, we've taken the printer out of the box, we've taken off the plastic film, we've connected the power cables to the power supply, we have the printer on, we've inserted the build plate, we've fastened the rotary knob at the top, and we've loosened these screws so that this plate will freely move. And I'm going to loosen that just a little bit more just to make sure. And then we remove the resin tank and we put the A4 paper between the build platform and the 2K LED screen, and we click move to the Z axis. When we first turn the machine on, this is the screen that we get. We're going to go over and press tools. We're going to press the manual, and then we're going to press the home. And now we see this moving down. Okay, now it's in the home position. The next thing we need to make sure of is that it's sitting flat all the way down, and it is. So now we'll go ahead and tighten these two screws. Okay, these screws are now tight. So since tightening the screw of the build plate will change the tightness when pulling out the A4 paper, you'll need to calibrate the height of the Z-axis slightly again. So if there's no resistance and only a few resistance when pulling out the paper, click to the Zen at the Z-axis at a distance of 0.1. So at this point, I can't move this paper. It's very tight. So I'm going to go ahead and raise this up 0.1 of a millimeter. So I raised this 0.1 of a millimeter, and now I can move this paper out by slipping this out now. And I can move this down to 1 millimeter, 0.1 millimeter. Now that the leveling is completed, I just hit back and it returns me to this screen. And now I need to click on set Z to 0. And that's right here, set Z to 0. And then it asks me to be able to confirm. Now that that's completed, the next step is we're going to go ahead and raise up the build plate 10 millimeters, and we're going to press up 10 times. So in essence, that is going to be 100 millimeters. So we're going to go ahead and put manual. We're going to put 10 millimeters, and then we're going to press this up 10 times. That's 1. That'll be 2, 3, 4, and 10. Now we're going to put the resin tank in, and we'll fasten the screws down. The next step is to test the UV light by pressing Tool, Exposure, and Next. So we need to be able to hit the back. Then we'll hit back one more time. Here's my tools. And then we need to do the exposure. And then we hit Next. If the 2K screen can display a complete ELEGOO technology, then the UV lights work perfectly. So that has been done. All right. Now the next step that we're going to do is a model printing test. Now you have this silicone seal that we need to put onto the cover. So we're going to take the cover and turn this upside down. Then we'll place the seal on it. Now I want to be careful with this. I don't want to stretch it. And I want to make make sure that it slips on exactly correctly. So there we go. We've got that on now. And when you put the tray in, you have a line right here that says max. I want this on the back side. And the first time that I put this in, it was on the front side and I couldn't see it. So I'm going to slide that back in now and tighten the screws down. So now I can see the word max on the back. So that gives me my max fill line. I like this setup a whole lot better where I can see the maximum fill line right there. So that is now all in place. So we're going to take the USB drive that was provided with this and we're going to go ahead and plug it in. And now we need to make sure that we're wearing our mask and our gloves, and we're going to slowly add the resin. And we need to put enough resin in the tank to be 1/3 level of the tank. And this is, you want to make sure that you avoid direct contact with your skin. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and select a model file, Rook, and we're going to start printing. And then we're going to, of course, add the cover over it so we can avoid the direct sunlight. And make sure that the printer is level, and it is, and it's not going to be shaking. Now this is the resin that we're going to be using today. To do the test print, the instructions call for the resin to be filled up 1/3 of the tray. So that is what I'm going to do now, and just slowly pour that in. In the instructions also it says that should you need to add more resin during your printing operation, you can hit the pause button and add more resin and then hit continue. But since we're just doing the test piece, it's asking for a 1/3 full. I'm sure that's going to work perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the back. We're going to need to go back again. And now we're going to need to select the print. I'm going to push this one. And now the screen shows the different files, and what I want to be able to do is print the Rook, and that's the test file right there. So I'll select it and it will be ready to print. At this point you can see the build tray actually going down into the reservoir. And the printing process will begin from there. Now this is going to take a little over 2 hours to be able to print the Rooks, and I'm going to show you just little bits of the video as we go through the printing process. That's the layer it's doing right now. And see from the screen you can see exactly what's happening. This is the layer that is printing. And this shows, looks like about 2 hours. And it's doing the 1 of 1,000 layers, as if I'm reading that correctly. So 1,000 slices, that's a lot of different layers. And to be able to take roughly 2 hours to be able to print this. Now in the manual it shows that it should take about 2 seconds per layer. And I would certainly expect that that first layer, being able to attach itself to that build tray, will take a little bit longer. And then from there, 2 seconds per layer is pretty much the average of what it says it will take. Now you don't see a lot of movement at this point. You got to be a little bit patient. You can see here now it's on the 3rd layer. And we've got 2 hours and 34 minutes to be able to do this. Now I want to check back. We're 23% through. We've done 233 of the layers, and at this point in the display you can see exactly what is being printed. And you can see how it moves, and then you can see what it's going to print, and then it moves again. So you can see the process, and it's taken about the 2 seconds per layer, and you can see it transition from one layer to the next. Now that you've seen the screen, I want to show you what's happening with the build tray itself. And you can see how it's moving up and down to be able to move from one layer to the next. And make sure that there has plenty of resin that's underneath that object as it moves. Now I want to check back again with the progression, and it's actually now coming out of the reservoir. So if you look closely, you can actually see it. But at this point, we're 63% completed, and we've done 640 layers. We have still about 55 minutes left to be able to do the print. So this gives you a real good idea of up-to-date information as this printing process goes through the whole cycle. And if you look carefully now, you can actually see the rooks showing as this build continues to print. And right now we're looking at 99% complete. We've done 993 layers out of the 1,000, and we have about 2 minutes left to be able to complete this print job. Okay, now that the printing is done, it goes ahead and moves up on its own. This is something that you do not have to do. And it takes your project completely out of the reservoir and gets it to the point where you're able to handle the process of being able to get it removed from the build tray. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and remove the cover now. I'm going to set it aside so I have access to the build tray. And I'm going to go ahead and loosen this knob and be able to remove it. And that little tool that I talked about earlier, this is what it's for. It slips right onto that Z-axis, and the build tray slips right onto that. This allows for that resin to be able to drip off of the build tray. So I'm going to let this sit here for just a few minutes so that all that resin will drip off of it, and then we'll go ahead and remove the rooks from the build tray itself. But you can take a look. These are absolutely beautiful. I am amazed at the quality and the detail of this print. And as I said earlier, I'm brand new to this process, and it's a huge learning curve, but it's a lot of fun. Now, as far as the cleanup, I'm just using the 91% alcohol to be able to clean all the various parts. And I have a plastic tray to be able to put the alcohol in to be able to wash everything off. So this process is also very, very easy as well. And I'm cleaning the first thing just to make sure that there's no dust, no debris of any kind in the tray. And then I'm going to wash all the individual parts. Now this only takes a very few minutes, and the resin washes off easily. I'm actually surprised at how easy the cleanup actually is. Since the printer is done, I'm going to hit confirm, and then I'm ready to be able to turn off the machine. I do have the UV lights that I can actually put these under to be able to cure, and with the UV lights it only takes just a very few minutes. Thank you for watching the video today. And if you like the video, please go ahead and give a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. Hit that little bell notification down there next to it so you won't miss out on any of the videos. I do have a lot of videos planned that I can use this 3D printer, and I'm looking forward to that. This is going to be a lot of fun. In addition, I have quite a few videos planned for the CNC machines, so you're not going to want to miss out. So go ahead and subscribe today, hit the notification. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching my videos, because without you watching the videos, I would not have a channel to be able to share this information with. So again, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you soon in my shop in whatever project that I'm working on.